Well, I'd have to say that when I graduated with a degree in anthropology, people asked me, what are you going to do with a degree in anthropology? And I wondered myself. And I thought, coming with a camping, canoeing background, that archaeology would probably be a good thing because I'd get to work outside and be with people, and I like that idea. So I wrote to archaeologists who worked in Central America where it's warm and you can actually do archaeology in the winter. And I ended up volunteering for the National Museum of Costa Rica and worked isolated for 5 months on an archaeological project. And I really liked archaeology. And I learned Spanish, which was rough. I didn't know a word. I was told that since I knew French, that would be fine. But, you know, they don't speak French and they don't understand French. And so it was rough. But, I also really liked the idea of ancient civilizations. And I thought, Costa Rica was great, but the Maya, they were an ancient civilization. And since I had an opportunity to work in Peru, the idea of comparing and contrasting the rise and fall of ancient civilizations really appealed to me. We discovered a peat bog below the seafloor in a shallow coastal lagoon that had wooden buildings preserved from the classic Maya times and other wooden objects. And so it's really, since wood doesn't preserve in the tropical landscape of Central America, we had unusual preservation. The only preserved wooden structures. There's lots of stone buildings that are preserved, but the wood decays. But our most spectacular find that has really gotten the attention of my colleagues, and the Belizeans love it, and we love it, is we found the first ancient Maya wooden canoe paddle at Site 14 in 2004. Cacnab, we called the site. Site 14 isn't good enough. We gave it anything where we find something nice, really nice, it gets a real name, a Maya name. Fiery water place, Cacnab. And so it's 1.43 meters long. It's made of sapodilla, and it's wonderful. I have a lot of favorite Maya sites. I'd say I have about 125 favorite Maya sites where I work. I really like my sites. I like snorkeling. I like swimming in the Caribbean. I'd say one of my favorite sites right now is Site 104 because I found it last field season. Favorite site that's not mine, I think, is Altun Ha, where the famous jade head was found. But I really like the site. I like just going up on the top of Temple B4 and sitting and looking out over the rainforest. It's very peaceful. I bit into the sandwich. I took a few bites, and I looked at the sandwich, and I realized I'd just bitten through a giant cockroach. And I could see my life stood still. I really don't like cockroaches. You know, it was probably about that long, and I had munched it in half. I know what it feels like to munch through the hard outer shell of a cockroach and then the soft inner body. I can still feel it. It's a jungle out there, really. Snakes are everywhere. Oh, we were attacked by killer bees. There's a jaguar, falling snakes. There was a time when I was attacked by the British Navy when I had some volunteers. We had to go into town to pick them up. We were camping out for 6 months on an uninhabited Caribbean island and having a good time. There's a Maya ruin with coral architecture, Frenchman's Key, wonderful, and infested with bugs, but we've got a Caribbean Sea right there. We had to go into town, and I had a 32-foot dugout canoe made out of mahogany called the Adele II, and we had another one, the Sarita, made out of a 24-foot dugout made out of Santa Maria. And one of my graduate students, Melissa, was driving it. We're driving into town, and suddenly, it was a beautiful morning, the Caribbean, beautiful sun and calm. Dolphins could have been leaping. Often we find dolphins leaping, and very picturesque. And suddenly, there was a loud noise, a booming noise. And I looked around behind me in the direction that I heard the noise, and I saw silhouetted behind the clouds and the mist a huge metal ship, the HMS something. It was the British Navy, and I knew. And so I said to one of my graduate students, Jody, get a flare and shoot it up. Let them know we're here. Because we're really small. We're in 2 dugout canoes against the British Navy, and they're shooting. And I knew they were shooting at the target practice on the mainland. And they needed practice because they were missing their target. They were shooting in the water. And so then I got on my 2-meter radio, and I called the Texaco gas station in town. And they were already on the radio talking with the only people who live permanently on the coast who they were being shot at too, inadvertently. And we found that the British Navy does not monitor the Texaco gas station 2-meter radio frequency. But the flare did bring a young guy in a military helicopter hovering around us, and they knew we were there. So they finally left, and I went into town and I explained this. I called the British Navy and said, and they assured me that the ammunition wasn't live, but it was a huge fiery explosion. And they also said they'd be leaving. But they said, you know, there are these notices in the paper, do not travel in the coastal waters north of Punta Gorda in the next 2 weeks. Well, you know, some people have to be out there.